come forward for lamp lighting ceremony.
Sir, why sir? Ma'am. Ma'am. स्टूडेंट रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को बोलते सर बेटा आप आ जाओ कम
I request all the students to stand for the Saraswati Vandana. Thank you everyone. Please have your seats.
Women in Tech is a concept for encourages women empowerment, promote, celebrate and welcome female minds in the field of technology and innovation.
Nonetheless, there are some revolutionaries out there who have broken the stereotypes the world has set for them and have crossed the boundaries that they were told to respect. Michelle Obama said, there is power in allowing yourself to be known and heard, in using your authentic voice and in owning your unique story. Today, we welcome amongst us an example of such courage, knowledge and experience, Ms. Mahima Saran.
Ms. Saran is a technical account manager at AWS India and has come here from all the way from Mumbai and imparts some great insight among us. For the past 16 years, she has been dedicated to solve a multitude of engineering and domain problems in the field of IT. I hope her presence encourages all of us present here, especially the female minds who are seeking for their own identities and growing as an individual.
Moving further, allow us to introduce to you all the community that has brought to you this opportunity to learn and grow. AWS User Group Dehradun. a user group from Amazon Web Services, AWS, a community of cloud enthusiasts who believe in learning and growing together. For those who don't know what a user group is, user groups are communities of people with like minds who come together with their unique ideas, inspiration, and innovations.
We are a community dedicated to bring together AWS customer partner expertise in which we share knowledge, experience and resources, not just an individual but for the benefit of the community. Now, I hope you all get an idea.
Today, AWS User Group Dehradun, in collaboration with the UPS Cloud Security Alliance Student Chapter, presents before you SHEVOLUTION.
Founded in 2017, UPS Cloud Security Alliance is the first student organization. UPS Cloud Security Alliance promotes best practices and industry-level certifications in the field of cloud and security. It gives me immense pleasure to tell you that UPS Cloud Security Alliance happens to be the first student community of this prestigious organization under its Uttarakhand branch.
Furthermore, the chapter has made some beneficial collaborations with communities and organizations such as NVIDIA DLI, Coding Ninjas, Code Warriors, Give My Certificate and AWS User Group Dehradun. Hello.
Hi everyone. Am I audible to everyone? Okay, it feels nostalgic. So I passed my college in 2005 and this is the first time I'm visiting any college after that. And it's so good to see the students and the college campus. And your college literally seems to be a dream college which I have seen in movies. Because I have been to colleges which are very rudimentary. But it's so great, it's my honor to be here with you and having this conversation today with all of you. And I'm so excited to, get to know more about you, your aspirations and how we can, achieve the goals together and the strengths that you have when you are studying in this wonderful college. So, let me begin with my small introduction about how my journey has started. How this works. Okay, now it's working. Thank you. So, this is the agenda that I have prepared, but not going as per by the agenda. Let me begin my short story. I hope all of you had lunch today.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I don't think you will be sleeping throughout the session, right? You will be present throughout the session, that is what I'm expecting. And I don't bore you to the death today, that is what I'm thinking. So let me begin with my story. Hope it inspires you. So I belong to a city called Bhopal, it's in Madhya Pradesh. I'm born and brought up in a Marwari family, very conservative one, where girls are usually, they get married, they have kids, usually not working outside of their comfort zone or outside of their college cities. And but I was very fortunate because I had parents who understood my aspirations. I had a mother who was very supportive, and she understood that it is so important to be educated in today's world, and it is so important for women to be independent, standing on their own feet, to be earning, so that they are not dependent on anyone. They are not dependent on their fathers, they are not dependent on their husbands. It's very important for girls, women today in this era, to be very, very independent and confident, so that they don't have any dependence on anyone in the world. And that is where my journey started. They emphasize how important it is to complete your education. So I completed my engineering. After completing my engineering, I started with my journey with TCS. So I got selected from campus, where I joined TCS as an assistant systems engineer. And I almost worked there for 2 years, where I had variety of exposure. I worked in media industry, I worked for manufacturing industry, where I had variety of knowledge, where I was able to experiment, where I was able to learn. I was working as a Java developer over there. I was also working as a support SME, where I was supporting US teams. That is where my journey started. But I felt that this is not the end, and I should go and pursue more, because this is something which is not the end of the world. I switched my company, I went to Deloitte. I worked there again for 1.5 years as a Java developer only, but it was still not satisfying enough to me. And I wanted to do something which is more experimental in nature. I wanted to do something where I can bring in my expertise, where I can experiment, where there is less monotony of doing the same work every day. I again switched my job. I went to Accenture then. That was a key turning point in my life. It was the year 2010. Fortunately, I got into an internal project which was a Center of Excellence team which I happened to join. And that was the year which was a blooming year. I joined a team which was working on Android. Android was recently launched in the market. And that is where, our team was actually working on POCs, creating labs, trainings, experimenting, creating small applications, so that we can train our customers, we can train our internal teams to use Android over there. And that's why I started loving my job, because every day I was doing something different. Every day I was experimenting. Every day, if I'm not doing the same stuff every day, I'm learning. At the same time, I'm also teaching. At the same time, I was also experimenting with various technologies every day in my life. And that is where I started loving my job more. So we started with Android, we went ahead with mobile web application development, and then I went ahead with my journey on various open source technologies like GitHub, Git-based repositories, and then it was a road ahead. I started learning about various software architectures. I worked for various customers. I traveled overseas, where I was fortunate enough to interact with multiple teams, understanding what they are doing in their projects and how these latest technologies can help them, improve their applications, improve the efficiency, improve the performance of their applications. Then the journey ahead was that I started working on microservices. Microservices was again a booming period. I'm talking about year 2016 and 2017, and that was a year when this concept was very new in the market. So that is where, my entire journey of 9 years when I was working at Accenture, I got an opportunity to work on various technologies, experimenting with various technologies, and it was really helping me in my journey of technology. Over the period of time, there were a lot of changes in my personal life as well. I got married in 2009, then I had kids in 2013. So the journey was not as smooth as you think, which I am explaining to you. I had kids, and then I had to sit at home for 1 year to take care of my kids. So there were a lot of ups and downs where my whole journey was like, even though there are downs in your life, you still have to continue your journey. The reason behind that was I still wanted to be independent. Although my husband was earning well enough, and there was no pressure to actually earn money. But there was a small motivation that I still want to work. I don't want to sit at home. I don't want to, be dependent on him at any point of time. And I wanted to be completely independent so that I have my own identity, right? And that is where I continued my journey, although there were some certain fallbacks. There were certain times when I thought of quitting my job and sitting at home and, working, taking care of kids because they need my help at that point of time. They were sick, they were not doing well in their studies, right? So there has been a whole journey full of ups and downs, but I still continued my journey. And that is where I would still suggest all of you who are, aspiring to be engineers, who are aspiring to come to the corporate jobs, that education is very, very important. Education plays a very important role in your life, and specifically the higher education. The higher education that you get, the specializations that you are doing today, the generation of today has the opportunity to do these kind of specialized courses like the way you are doing for cloud computing today. Our generation did not have these opportunities. We mostly had to do a self-learning, or we had to do all of these learnings on the field. Now when you have the chances to learn all of these newer technologies in your college campus where your faculties are teaching you all these technologies, please do take advantage of all of these things. And if you can, do go for higher education, do pursue your higher studies where you can do a specialization in certain subjects. And believe me, there are n number of job opportunities available in the market. You just need to have the right expertise in you. If you have the expertise, there are n number of jobs available for you. So instead of pursuing your next step as a job, I would recommend that all of you should pursue next step as a higher studies. Think about what new specialization you want to do, where you want to go in your life, and then take the decision. Because specifically for the pre-final year or final year, this is a very, very crucial time of your life. This is a time when you have to decide that what you want to do next in your life, and you are the key decision maker here. You are the one who will decide what your future lies ahead. I am not saying once you get into a job you will not have these opportunities. Today's IT industry offers you n number of opportunities even when you are working. So for example, I joined Amazon 2 years back, and since then, again that was a key turning point in my life where so I'm actually not running the slide. This is a problem, but let me speak. Go ahead and speak. So I started my journey in Amazon almost after working in my previous firm for 9 years, and it was very intimidating, frankly. When you work for a company, you become very, very comfortable in your job. You know the people know you very well. You know your job very well. You don't want to move, but I still thought that it is a right time for me to move, to learn something new in the industry. And at the same time, there were a lot of questions in my mind. Being a mother, would I have enough time for the kids? Would I have a perfect work-life balance so far that I had? And today's market and technology, that all of you have seen AWS. I mean, we have 250 plus services, right? And it's next to impossible for a single person to know all these services. So the fear that would I be able to keep up with the market of growing and emerging technologies. Everyday technology changes. How much learning, would I be able to do this much learning? Would I be able to cope up with my role which I am getting into in AWS? And with these questions, I still took a chance. I thought, why not try it out? There is no harm in trying out. And again, I took a risk in my life. I moved ahead, I got an opportunity in AWS, and I joined AWS. And that is where again a new chapter in my life began. At AWS, the best part is they always focus on your personal growth. Along with the company, they feel that the employee should also grow at the same space, because that is when a company becomes successful. So I started as a technical account manager there. As technical account manager, I basically work with the customers. I'm a customer facing role, where every day I deal with the customers, I look after their applications, I become a single point of contact for them, and day in, day out I'm working with the customers. But still, that did not stop me from my interest of public speaking. That did not stop me from my interest of experimentation and learning something new every day, from upskilling me. So I still continued my journey. I gave a lot of public presentations on various topics. In Amazon, when you join, you get a chance to do a specialization in one of the services. So there are streams like containers, there are streams like analytics, artificial intelligence, big data, databases, right? So there are so many fields where you get to work, and you also get an opportunity to do a specialization in any of these fields. So that is where I got an opportunity to do a specialization in containers, and I continued my journey over there. As all of you are also pursuing your journey in cloud computing, do appear for your certifications, which are very, very important. Because all of you, I think, all of you are following the role of, appearing for your cloud practitioner certification. This will give you an edge when you appear for your, any company interviews or anywhere you are going, even if you are going for your higher educations. All of these certifications are going to give you a very high edge in your life. It is going to help you, proceed further in your life. And these certifications at the same time give you a lot of knowledge about the subject which you generally would not get if you are just doing your readings. So, do appear for your certifications. If you have cleared your cloud practitioner certification, do go for your cloud solutions associate certification as a next step. And then there are a number of certifications. But again, as an ending point, my thought is, do continue your study, do continue your upskilling. Because to remain in the market today, see, even if you are in the market and you are doing the same stuff every day, you will be out of the market any day of the time. It is very important that you keep on learning. Learning is part and parcel of an engineer's life. Every day new technology comes, every day something changes in the IT industry. If you are not learning, if you are not upskilling yourself, you will be far behind. And you might be stuck in a job which is very monotonous for you, and you will not be loving your job. So whenever you take any decision in your life, which is the most crucial time in your life, do think about what you aspire to do in your life. Leaving all the money aside, right? So whenever you think about a job, whenever you think about your higher studies, do take a decision on the basis of what you want to do in your life rather than what this job is giving you in terms of money. This is not working actually. Okay. So I think this is my journey so far, which I have already covered. Yeah, can you just remain on this slide? So why Amazon is the best place to work at? There are 3 reasons if you are aspiring to work with Amazon, because Amazon is one of the earth's best companies to work for. The very first is an inclusive culture. Amazon always celebrates diversity, Amazon always celebrates and always brings in the value of diversity. So if you are coming from different backgrounds, if you have different knowledge, you are always valued for your knowledge and experience that you are bringing. You are always valued for your diverse culture that you are bringing. Whether you are an Indian, whether you are an American, it does not matter. everyone is treated equally, and gender equality is always there. There is zero tolerance for sexual harassment, and that is something we all have experienced while working with Amazon. So the very first reason why Amazon is always a best culture for women is inclusive culture, then career growth. In Amazon, you get a lot of opportunities to work for the company and work for yourself. So there are a number of opportunities where you get to upskill yourself. There are diverse set of streams and trainings and platforms available to help you experiment. One of the key principles of Amazon is we always celebrate our failures, which I've never seen anywhere. You won't believe in Amazon we have an award, the greatest failure of the quarter, right? So we celebrate if you have failed, if you are working for your customer and if you have failed. So we celebrate the failures also. The reason is because if you don't fail, you will not learn from your mistakes. And that is where you will understand what is next that you have to do and how you can do it right. So failures are always celebrated in Amazon, which is a unique culture which I have not seen anywhere else. Then support for parents, as I was talking about, being a mother, they always give a value to your individual family times, to your off times. I always get time offs where I'm not working for the customers. I have backup in space, so I have complete work-life harmony. And at the same time, it's not only for family or vacations I can take offs. I can also take an off because I am actually upskilling myself, right? So we celebrate Fridays as the wellness days, where we just celebrate a full day, where we focus on our well-being. You can go for a walk, you can watch a movie with your family, you can do anything you want. And that is specifically kept only for you to entertain yourself and work upon yourself. So this is the kind of culture that we have. We don't do micromanagement. We feel that every individual is responsible for their own work. Every individual is responsible for working for their customers. And we don't believe into monitoring what every individual is doing. Because everyone is following their dream here. Everyone is following their dream of what they aspire to do next. Everyone is planning. Everyone wants to be ahead in the organization. Can you go to the next slide, please? There are other opportunities as well, specifically for women, that has been designed. So the very first one is return to work opportunity. This is across all the areas we have launched this opportunity, specifically for women who had taken a break in their lives for n number of reasons, for maternity or taking care of their kids, taking care of themselves. So women who have taken a break in their life, we are inspiring them to come back to work. Even women who are not from the technology background or women who does not have knowledge on AWS, we conduct various community events. We are conducting various seminars, trainings for them so that they can get trained on AWS services and they can return to work, and we are in fact offering them various jobs as well. Part-time engineering roles, specifically like for working mothers who need time for their family and at the same time they want to continue their job. So we are also offering part-time engineering roles for them. So these are some of the programs which are run across regions. So by region these programs changes. There are internship programs, there are part-time engineering programs. All of these programs are run in various locations as per the time. And it keeps on changing. Every year we launch new programs. Like Women in Tech is another program, Women at Families is another program that we are running. All of these programs are specifically focused on women, where our target is to have complete equality, and we have equal number of women leadership in our firm as well, in our enterprise, so that the women leaders should be equal to the number of men leadership that we have. And that is the current focus that we have in our India team as well. So n number of opportunities. It's a great place to work. If you are aspiring to work for Amazon, it's one of the best companies to work for on earth. With all the aspirations, with all the dreams that you have, all your aspirations will be fulfilled when you join AWS. The floor is open for questions if you guys have any questions before I start my technical presentation. But I would like to know your thoughts. What do you aspire to do in your life? Are there any questions you would like to ask me today?
Anybody wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. We'll bring the mic to you. Introduce yourself.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Mohammed. I am in first year, ma'am.
Okay.
So my question was, as a student, what we should more focus on to grab more opportunities in the future?
See, as a student, your first and foremost focus will be only studies, because this is the only time, believe me, you will get for your studies. I'll just tell you my story. When I was in college, I completed my engineering. In my final year, I was preparing for MS. I even gave my GRE examination. I cleared it with a good score. And at the same time, I got selected in campus and I got a job opportunity. And my parents and me and all of us felt that why not do a job for 1 year. And then I would be able to pay my own fee. And that is where I did not go for that higher education. After 1 year, I did not get enough time to come out of that loop of job that I was doing. I was so much engrossed in my job that I was unable to come out of it and go for my higher education. So my only suggestion from my personal experience is, job is something you will do in your entire life, right? Even today, after you complete your engineering or after completing your higher education, you are always going to be working throughout your life. But this is the only time that you are getting to educate yourself, to get all of these degrees from various colleges and pursue your higher education. So as a student, do focus on your studies. Do understand what are your aspirations, what motivates you, right? Understand the stream you would like to go in your life. And then, do a specialization on that. Because believe me, when you join a job, comparing a student who does not have higher education, comparing to a person who has a higher education, is always given an edge. Because you have been trained on a particular technology which the other person does not have. He might be smart enough to learn it on field, but you have already coming from a background where you have learned it together. So please focus on your studies, understand what you want in your life, and pursue your passion. Because once you get into a job, it's a loop. You get into a loop. You continuously work and you are not able to come out of it. It gets very difficult. She has one question.
Hi ma'am, thank you so much for those kind words. So my question is, you said that you were so engrossed in the job, so you couldn't make up to a higher education. And I also think the same, that for 1 or 2 years I should work and get my higher degree on my own money. So if you are given a chance to continue your higher education at that time, so what are your suggestions? What should we do that we can do our higher education on our own money?
Good question. See, I do not deny the financial situations also, right? Every one of us have similar situations where we don't want to burden our parents further with our education fees, which is very high these days. And it becomes difficult, and we think into an area where we think, let us earn something so that we are on our own able to fund our own education. And see, there are a number of examples where students have done that. They work for 1 year or 2 years, and then they they were able to fund their own education. But the only part is, while you are in college, you are in the flow of studies, right? You are in the momentum of doing your studies, and it's very easy to pursue higher education at this point of time. But once you get into a job, you have to work 8 hours a day, and then you have to take out those extra hours to study, and you have to take out those extra hours to study during your weekends also, right? So it is that extra effort that you will have to take, which you don't have to take right now. Now, see, the final decision of course will be yours. You can discuss with your parents also. But my suggestion is, if you can pursue your education right away, and if there are no financial constraints with you, don't go for a job at this stage. go for a higher education, because this is the right time to go for it.
Thank you so much.
Hello ma'am, thank you for coming at such a time. I am a third year student. I am really confused that should I go for higher studies or I should go for the job. So I am having I am having three plans in my mind right now. To go for higher studies, to go for job, and to go for CDS.
And they will do kind of an interview with you, and they can select you on the basis of that.
Ma'am, I would like to ask one more thing. What would be the prerequisites?
There are no prerequisites per se, but of course, if you have done certain work or projects in AWS, you have a good understanding of AWS, that will give you an edge over other candidates. So let's say if you have a certification, that would be the highest edge, like you are already certified, which most of the professionals who are working in the industry are having. So if you are having a certification or if you have done certain projects in your college time, they will definitely give you an edge over others.
Thank you so much.
We'll just take one more question. I'll run through the technical presentation and then I'll open the floor again for your questions. Sure, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Aman, and I have been seeing that you are focusing again and again for going to higher studies. So I wanted to know that what in your life you felt short of not pursuing higher studies, that you think that you might have pursued and achieved.
Right, it's the acceleration, right? When you learn something in your education, that gives you a much higher acceleration in your career. So a person who has done higher studies, he is starting at an age where he is already trained on something, he is already specialized. So when he is joining industries, he is already coming with a certain experience in their life. And that experience is counted, and that experience actually helps them in accelerating in their career. So there could be, there are n number of examples where people join and then they accelerated also in their job. So I'm not saying there is any harm in, starting your journey right after the college with a job. I have been through that journey myself, and it has been a fantastic journey. It also depends on how fast you are going. But education is something that you will only get now. Once you start your journey in a corporate world, this journey would only be something that you will pursue on your own, right? You will not be studying in a college where a faculty is going to come and teach you. It will always be self-learning, something that you will learn on the field. But in college, you have faculties who are going to train you on these things, which you will not get once you join an industry, right? In industry, we do have trainings, but those are very short-term trainings, like a week training or 2 weeks training, or maximum a month training, right? And they teach you something, but the expectation is that you have to do a lot of self-learning on the field. But in college, you learn something which is not only at academic level, at your personal development level also is something that you learn.
Thank you.
Okay, so okay. So this is a topic that I am presenting today: building modern applications via containers and microservices. All of you, have you heard about the concept of microservices and containers? Have you, learn about these technologies in your college time or heard about this? Anyone would like to help me understand what is a microservice? Let's let's make it more interactive rather than me just giving you a session on microservices. Okay, let's start with, have you all done some kind of projects in your college time, right? You do certain kind of projects. How do you start with your project? What kind of projects you are doing? Anyone would like to help me understand that? Sure.
First of all, we choose a team members to help us to build a team. Then we choose a topic, and then we start the code. And at the time, compiling it get when it's the time to bring all the codes together, we use GitHub in order to collect all the code and prepare the findings.
Where are you running or deploying your code? So let's say you have prepared your code and you run it on your local laptop, right?
Yes.
Correct? Now, someday you lost your laptop or you lose anything, all your project would be gone, right? And this was the same scenario where most of the industries were into. Okay, no worries, let me stand it down. Right, so this is the agenda that I will follow today. How has technology changed? Microservices architecture, then overview of challenges with containers, and then how to build containerized microservices on AWS. So we have seen that in the past 10 years, just sit down, no worries, I think I got the answer. So in the past 10 years, the IT industry has changed completely from what it used to be, right? We have complex business problems, right? We have e-commerce, we have Netflix, we have Facebook. These are the kind of applications which are running today, where you have millions and billions of users using it online at a given point of time, right? A single failure would result in an entire region being down. So there are so many consequences which could happen. So we have a lot of many complex applications in today's world, various new features in the market, and they have to keep up with the market. Every day the market needs are changing. Every day there is a new offer going on. Every day there is a new sale going on Amazon. We have seen the kind of great Indian sales which did not exist in earlier. So we need faster acceleration. So let's imagine that you are using an online store like Amazon. It's an e-commerce application. How would you do it in your earlier days? Or you do in your, most of the time when you are developing it in your college time projects, how would you usually do? You will have a browser which will hit a load balancer. Behind the load balancer, you will have multiple servers where your application is deployed in the form of a WAR or jar file. And these jar files will have all your services like your account service, your inventory, your cart, right, your account. And these services, think about the distributed complexity. You don't have to think about, how to test so many applications, how to do the integration testing between these applications. You don't have to think about them. Easy to deploy because there is one single jar file that you have to deploy. But we have seen that with this kind of, although it is simple to develop, deploy and test, it still has its own set of disadvantages. So for example, automation is very difficult, right? If a team has updated a code and another team is testing the code and the third team is deploying it and they don't have a consensus between them, and if a new change has come, they might deploy a wrong file. And your production system might be running a wrong version of your application altogether. So you need a lot of automation. That means CI/CD pipelines which would automatically deploy your code in the real time, which is really difficult with your old system architecture. Then change is discouraged, right? Every single change has to go through a long process of testing, long process of deployment, which again is not happening because of the constant needs of the market where you have to deploy new changes and bring in new features every day. Steep learning curve, like every team has to know the entire code base, so that if a small change they have to do, they need to understand the entire code base for it. Longer time to market, scaling is challenging. That means a sale is going on. Right now your number of users who are using the application is only 1,000, but on the sale day the number of users go to 10,000. So imagine if you have to scale up your application, you have to buy so many new data servers where you have to deploy your code, you have to test your code whether it is working or not, you have to do a lot of testing on it. So again, time to market will become high and scaling becomes very, very difficult. So what is the need for today's world? The solution is to decompose this huge monolithic application that we have into small microservices. So what are microservices? Microservices are basically, it's an architectural approach, okay? It is not any code which you deploy. Microservices is an architectural approach. What you do is, you have a big monolithic application, you divide it into small applications. And each small application is independent on its own. That means, this application can run on its own without having a dependency on the other application. So even if the other application fails, this application will still be up and running, right? So just imagine that you have an e-commerce application and your order portal goes down. So that means all other functionalities are working, where you are able to select your product, where you are able to see the information about the product, you are able to add the product in your cart. Sometimes all of you must have experienced this kind of glitches, where you have added the product in your cart, but you are still not able to order it, right? When you go till the payment, it expires, something or the other happens, or you get an error page. So now what is happening is, although the entire site is working, only one module is not working, right? But imagine on the contrary, if it was an old monolithic application, if one functionality goes down, your entire application is down. Compared to that, it is always better that only one functionality is down, but the other application is still working fine. And that is where the whole concept of microservices will come into the picture. That you are breaking an entire application into small services, where even if the other application or service goes down, your entire application is not affected, it is still working, right? So it benefits, like it's independently deployable, it builds around the business capabilities, and it is decentralized. That means you don't have a single database where all your application data is residing. So every service is going to have its own database. So imagine account service is having account database, card service is having card database, at the same time your inventory is having inventory database, right? So every service has its own database. So even if the database of one service goes down, other service data is still intact and persistent, right? You can have redundancy so that if one thing goes down, the other would still be available with you. So that is where we are bringing in the concept of microservices. So the tenets of microservices architecture is, it is decentralized, independent, you build it and you run it, and then it is polyglot in nature. That means within a single application of e-commerce, you can have certain services developed in Node.js, you can have certain services developed in .NET, and you can have certain services developed in Java. So you have no language barrier, you don't have a barrier of any technology. You can do mix and hybrid of everything that you want as per the requirement basis. You are not dependent on particular technology or tool to build your application here. So this is how microservices architecture looks like compared to the old architecture which I showed you. So you will have a client, you will have load balancer, you will have an API gateway, and then you will have different services. So you will have account service, you will have recommendation service, you will have customer service, catalog service, and every service is having their own database. So you can say that catalog service might be having a SQL database and your customer service might be running in a document DB based database. So every service can run its own database. You can choose which technology best fits your application. And this is the kind of liberty you get when you choose a architecture like microservices. Now you have decided the architecture, but you also need a platform which will match the requirements to run such a kind of an architecture. And that is where containers comes into the picture. So containers are the best fitted technology for microservices. It fulfills all the benefits, it fulfills all the capabilities that microservices are offering. So for example, containers actually run in an isolated environment. What do we mean by an isolated environment means that all of you must have played some games, right, on your LAN. Every computer is connected to the LAN and you all are playing your games, right? So every laptop is connected to the network, but every laptop has an individual isolation. What you are doing, the other laptop will not know. But you can still send a message to the other laptop. You can still play with the other player running their game on the other laptop. And this is how containers work. Although there would be 5 containers running on a single server, but every container runs in its own isolated space. So every container has its own environment, has its own technology, has its own memory, CPU, but they can connect to each other. The networking would be there, but they are still individually in their isolated environment. And that is what containers is. So it gives all the benefits which microservices offer. So just go back to, you can test and deploy an artifact at any given point of time. You don't need too many versions. The same version which you have tested in your development environment, you would be able to test the same artifact in your production environment. So there are less possibilities of human errors. Self-contained and CI/CD pipelines, you can do a lot of automation with containers versus the way you would be able to do in your normal monolithic architectures. Now there are certain challenges with containers. So let's say you are running your college project which has only 4 to 5 containers. Very easy for you to maintain. You can log into each and every container, see what is the networking, why this container is failing. Is it out of memory? Is it needing more CPU power? Very easy for you to do it when it is only 3 to 4 services or 10 to 15 servers. Now let's imagine an application like Amazon.com or Netflix where you have thousands and millions of servers interconnected to each other. Would it be possible practically that the thousands of containers which are running across the data centers to log into a particular server and understand why it failed? Right? Not possible practically. So there are certain challenges which come with containers also. Although the container provides all the benefits, they still need networking. We need to establish networking between these containers. We need to establish how the data would be persisted. That means your application running on containers, how would it save its data? Would it save it on the container, on the instance, or on the database? How would you decide that? Right? How would you schedule when the container should start, when it should end, how auto recovery should happen if it is failing? N number of things that you would have to decide if you are running thousands of containers altogether. So how to solve this problem? Because we just don't have to think about one thing as a deployment. We don't have to think only about infrastructure. There are n number of things that we have to think about. How the containers connect to each other, how we will expose them to the outside world. What is the URL at which these containers would be available? How your application would be running behind these containers. Right? So that is where AWS comes into the picture and solves your problem. AWS offers you a plethora of building blocks and various container services, and these container services solves all your problems. That how you can orchestrate the combination of these various containers, the networking of the containers, the discovery of the containers. So all of these issues and challenges which multiple containers offers us, which could be easily solved by orchestration framework. There are 2 orchestration frameworks which we offer. So there is one Amazon ECS and then there is Amazon EKS. ECS is Elastic Container Service and EKS is Elastic Kubernetes Service. So these are the 2 orchestration frameworks which we are offering, which will help you in managing your containers. If you are running so many containers, how to manage? These are the 2 services which will help you in managing the containers, along with various other services like databases, networking, right? Analytics, all the other services which you are offering. Apart from this, these are specifically for containers. So this is the container landscape. The second row you can see we have ECS and EKS. These are the orchestration frameworks. The first line you have networking components like cloud map and application map. Then you can see for hosting, like where would you run your containers. So there are 2 ways in which you can run your containers. One is you can run on EC2 instances, which are normal hosts running on your servers. And then there are AWS Fargate. Fargate is a serverless technology where you don't have to worry about the underlying platform where your application is running. It would be taken care on your behalf by AWS itself. And the third is Elastic Container Registry. This is a repository or a database, you can say, where you are going to store all your Docker images. Right? I'm sorry if I'm using too many technologies and terminologies which you might not be aware. But going to the short time, I would not be able to go into too much details about each and every technology. But you can contact me at any given point of time if you have more queries. So these are the two technologies or orchestration tools we have. One is ECS and EKS. Again, each of these tools offers you two varieties. So like ECS offers you that you can run your containers on EC2 instances or serverless Fargate, and same time EKS offers you to run your containers on EC2 or Fargate. So you are the person who has to choose what is the benefit, what is the right technology you will choose for your workload. So as per the requirement of your application, you are going to choose the right technology. So Amazon ECS. Amazon ECS is one of the orchestration tools which simply runs on the concept of containers, that is Dockers. So it uses a Docker technology where you can use your Docker images and you can use ECS which will orchestrate the container platform on behalf of you. That means how to manage the containers, how to manage the networking between the containers, the security of the containers. Because there are a number of other Amazon or AWS integrated services which are available. So let's say for security you can use IAM, which is one of the services. You can use various other services which are available, which are internally integrated with your ECS. So that is the best part. When you use any of the ECS services, they are internally integrated with various other services. So you don't have to worry about security. You don't have to worry about the networking part of it. You don't have to worry about the infra part of it. Because all of these things are highly integrated already for you. You just have to do the right configuration for your application. And within minutes, your orchestration framework of containers will be up and running. And this is the next orchestration framework that we have, which is fully managed Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is another container orchestration tool. It's an open source orchestration tool which is available in the market. And AWS is offering you a fully managed version of Kubernetes, which is called EKS. So you can use EKS if you aspire to run your workload on Kubernetes and you want to utilize all the inherent benefits that Kubernetes platform already offers. So it has high availability. Then you can manage various upgrades. Like if there are multiple new versions of Kubernetes which are available, Amazon offers you that you can manage these upgrades very easily. You don't have to literally migrate your code onto a different version. Then all the existing plugins and tools which are available in the open source Kubernetes tools are also available with EKS. It has native support for all the AWS services. So here I come to an end of my presentation on technical topic. I thought of keeping it very short and crisp, so that I just give you an overview about containers, I just give you an overview about microservices and why they are so important in today's technology. These are two of the very hot topics and most of the customers are today either already running their workload on containers or they are migrating their workload to containers. So everything today they want to be containerized to fulfill the requirement of their market needs. Now how to choose the right platform? So let's say we are offering two platforms, ECS and EKS. One of the main questions which arises with most of our customers is, which one is the right for our workload? Which one we should choose as per our workload requirement? So again, very simply I put that if you think you need a platform which is very simple to learn and very simple to use, then you should always go with ECS. ECS is a simpler one. You can use your existing Docker images and deploy them directly on ECS, right? It offers you all the inherent properties of IAM, of various other services which AWS offers, including monitoring, logging, security. All of these things are readily available with ECS. But in case you or your customer, when you work for them, aspiring to use or run your application on Kubernetes platform. Now, there are many customers who are already running their workload on Kubernetes, and then they want to migrate to AWS. Or let's say their customers are running their workload on another version of Kubernetes, which is open source and self-managed. But it is becoming difficult for them to manage on their own, and they want a more managed one. Then they are moving towards Kubernetes. So that is where they choose EKS as one of their platforms, because even if they are running their workload on EKS in AWS, tomorrow they might want to migrate to another platform of Kubernetes. Let's say they want to go to a hybrid cloud, they want to go to another cloud where Kubernetes is running. So they would have all the flexibility available to migrate their cloud from another Kubernetes version to EKS, or from EKS to another Kubernetes version. So when this is the scenario, you should ideally choose EKS as one of your platforms. So here I come to an end of my session. Again, opening the floor for questions. So if you have any questions related to the technology, containers, please feel free to ask. Otherwise also you can ask any question to me. Thank you. Any questions, anyone? Please feel free. I think there was a momentum when before the technical presentation, a lot of you had questions. Sure. Good evening. Good evening. Can you speak a little louder, please?
How to get trained on AWS?
Ma'am, her question is how can she get trained on AWS?
Okay, so there are n number of platforms available today which are offering courses on AWS. So AWS Academy, and then AWS Training and Certifications team, they are usually doing multiple free trainings, and they are open trainings for all. Students, professionals, anyone can join these trainings. They are virtual sessions, recorded sessions. You can join these sessions and learn about AWS. Then this community is another very good medium to learn about AWS, because within a community you can interact with your fellow students who are aspiring to learn AWS or cloud platform. So be part of this community, because you will get more opportunities, you will get to know when certain events are happening.
Which course are you from? What course are you? कौन से course से हो बच्चे?
Cloud computing.
Which course?
Cloud.
CCBT was it?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I am a cloud enthusiast, and my question is that what is exactly the difference between containers and a virtual machine, or like why should we prefer containers over virtual machines?
Okay. So virtual machines are just like your laptops, right? You have a laptop, you turn it on. You on your laptop you will be running an operating system like Windows or OS or Mac, right? Linux. So there is a software that you will be running. Now on top of those operating system, you would be installing your actual software. So for example, if you are running, let's say, a Java application and you are using JBoss or Tomcat, right? You will install Tomcat, then you will have your jar and war file which you will run on Tomcat. This is the usual scenario of running your application, correct? Now, let's imagine that you want to run 2 to 3 different applications at the same time. You want to run 3 war files, like 3 different applications at a given point of time. Would it be possible for you to install 3 different versions of Tomcat and run it all together? No, right? So what is happening at the end is, although your laptop has enough disk, it has enough memory and CPU, but still you are able to run only one single software at a given point of time. So only one single version of your application is running. You cannot run 2 applications at a given point of time. So it is more like a waste of resources, right? You are not 100% utilizing the resources that are present on your server. Now imagine a situation where you are able to run 3 different operating systems on your laptop. just like your browsers, like you are running Firefox and you are running Chrome and you are running Internet Explorer. All three running together and all three are running different applications altogether. If you have a similar situation where you can divide your laptop into 3 different operating systems running, right? Still what will happen at the end is there is a technology called virtualization. So that was a very starting of cloud computing. So it is a history of cloud computing actually. So earlier days you would have a single server, and on the single server you will have a host operating system on which your software will be running and your application will be running. Then came virtualization. Now virtualization gives you an opportunity where you can, like Oracle VM is one of the virtualization servers, where you can run 2 different versions of operating systems. So you are virtualizing your laptop or your server altogether, where 2 different applications can run at the same time. There was a disadvantage to that also, because when you run virtualization, or which is called hyper virtualization, you have to install a full-fledged version of operating system. So the operating system file is very heavy, right? If you have ever done formatting of your laptop, you will know the operating system file is very heavy and it takes 2 to 3 hours to install that operating system itself. Now imagine in your live application, would you wait for 3 hours to install the operating system first and then deploy your application? You need something which would be deployed within minutes or seconds actually. That is where containers comes into the picture. Containers is where you are running different virtual machines on a single server, but these virtual machines are completely isolated from each other. They have their own environment, but they don't need to run the bigger file of operating system. They don't run the full-fledged version of operating system. Let's say if you are running a Java application, you only need to install JDK or JRE version. You don't need to install a whole Linux operating system on your container. So that is the advantage. This technology eliminates the need to install a full-fledged version of operating system. So you are saving the resources. The time is quick to deploy, right? And your application will come up within seconds rather than hours. So that is where this evolution has happened, from servers to hyper-virtualization, from hyper-virtualization to containers. Does that answer your question?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I just want to ask that what certification courses would you pay for to gain insight, a good insight on the AWS?
In certifications we have beginner level certification, we have professional certifications, and then we have specialty certifications. So there are 3 categories. Beginner level certifications are like, the very first one is cloud practitioner certification. Now cloud practitioner certification is for beginner level. So you are still beginning, you want to understand a very basic about each and every service. That is where you will go with cloud practitioner certification. If you want to learn more about the architecture part of it, what are the various services, how their architecture is, then the other certification you can do is Solutions Architect Associate. If you want to understand about DevOps, you will go with DevOps certification. So every certification has a beginner level certification, an advanced level certification, and then a specialty. So for example, there are certifications for security, there are certifications for analytics, there are certifications for various other streams. Networking certification is there. So you always start with beginner, then you go with associate certificates, you can go with professional certificates, and then you can go with specialty certifications. So if you are just beginning your journey, go with cloud practitioner certification.
Ma'am, in microservices, what exactly decentralized workloads?
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Ma'am, in microservices, what exactly is decentralized workloads?
Decentralization means, what is centralization? Centralized means everything in a single ball. So right now all of us are in a single ball. This is a centralized ball, right? Now let's say I create compartments or cubicles here. Each cubicle only 4 people can sit. So if we create, let's say 10 to 15 cubicles here, each cubicle is going to be your microservice, right? Each microservice would have different number of services running inside it. So this is what microservices is. Microservices is breaking down a big application into small services which are independent. And decentralization means, for example, decentralization of a database. So if you have a bigger database where you have data about users, you have data about products, you have data about orders, right, for an e-commerce application. You break it down, you decentralize it, and you create 10 different databases. One database for accounts, one database for user information, one database for orders, one database for inventory, one database for products. So this is decentralization. It means everything was in a single place. Now you have divided it into small chunks. Thank you.
I'm like earlier you said if I lose my laptop, then GitHub provides me an option to retrieve all the code and data that I have uploaded over there.
Correct.
So what does AWS provide me there? For extra
Where is GitHub running? What is GitHub according to you? Let's hear.
GitHub is a place where I can upload my code and retrieve other people's.
It's online, right? Something which is virtual for you.
Yes, sir.
Similar to cloud, right? That means you have uploaded your code or you are storing your application code, everything at a place which is remote to you, so that even if your laptop is lost, even if your city is flooded, you will still have your data intact. Now why that data would be intact is, if GitHub was storing your data in a central server, that they have a dedicated server where they are storing only your data, there could be incidents happening in that data server also, and it could get destroyed at any point of time. So what is the concept of cloud is redundancy and replication. So when you are storing your data in GitHub, your data is stored in multiple different servers and replicated, so that if any time the server where your data is residing goes down, the other server will still have a copy of your database. And that is the whole concept of cloud. So GitHub itself is running on a cloud technology. At the back end, it has a host of different servers which are running a cloud technology and replicating your data. So that if any day one server goes down or gets degraded, your code, your application code would still be available with you. Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good evening.
Just a last question.
Sure.
My question is like AWS is mostly cloud-based, so how
Hello. Ma'am, our question is that how will AWS help in other specializations like AI, ML or DevOps or something?
Okay. So I think, see, the concept about cloud computing is nothing more like infrastructure. So instead of you operating on your own server, instead of you purchasing your own server where you will deploy your code, we are providing you those servers. So you have to use our servers to deploy your code, right? Now that code or that data could be AI, that could be big data, that could be AI ML, that could be data analytics, right? So Amazon is providing you nothing but an infrastructure and a technology which you will use. But ultimately the code or the application or the software that you are deploying is still yours, right? The software that you are developing and testing on your local machine, the same software you are going to deploy on AWS. So AWS is actually providing your ground where you will run your code. But your code, your basic coding will remain the same. So the AI concepts will remain the same. You are only using the AI based services available in AWS to deploy your AI based softwares or technology or your code.
Good evening, ma'am. My question is that if there are two candidates, one is AWS certified and another one is Azure or any other like GCP certified, and you are an interviewer at AWS, which one would you prefer more?
See, the interview process is not biased only on the basis of certification. Believe me, there has been interviews which I have taken where the candidates were AWS certified, but when I asked questions to them, they were not able to answer the basic questions also, because they just gave the certification. So we are not biased that if you have an AWS certification, you will be selected for sure. But in a situation where I have asked the same questions to you and same questions to an Azure guy, and both of you have performed at the same level, then you will get an edge over the person who has an AWS certification. But the fundamental is your fundamental should be clear, right? If I am asking you infra-related questions or architecture-related questions, you should be able to answer those basic questions. So in AWS, when we do the hiring, I'm not sure about the freshers, I've not been in interviews with freshers, but when we do the lateral hiring, having AWS knowledge is not at all mandatory. We hire candidates on the basis of their experience, the diverse set of experience that they are bringing in, and the knowledge that they have about their subject. So if they specialize in database, they should be having a very deep understanding of database. If they have a knowledge on systems architecture, they should be having a very detailed and good understanding of systems architecture. But we are not expecting them to know AWS beforehand. Because once you join Amazon AWS, we give you a rigorous training of 3 to 4 months where you get to learn about AWS and AWS services. So whenever you are joining AWS, it is not at all mandatory that you need to have a prior knowledge or certification on AWS. My only point is because all of you are already aspiring to be cloud practitioners, and if you are already using AWS, then these certifications will help you in your growth, in your understanding, and will give you an edge. Right? But of course, the interview will not be biased just because you have a certification. It will just give you an edge.
That would be it for the questions, ma'am. A round of applause for Ms. Mahima Sarek, guys. Thank you, ma'am, for your words. I'm sure your knowledge about containers and microservices would have given some great insights to the students here.
We are confident that our audience really enjoyed the session and will take back some great insight and inspiration.
Moving ahead, here's a short quiz for you all. Winners of the quiz will get goodies from AWS India. So good luck, everyone.
Before we proceed for the quiz, I would request all the participants to pay attention for the instructions. I request the participants to log in kahoot.it. It's a site, kahoot.it. And secondly, enter the game pin. Guys, log into the site, kahoot.it. Enter the game pin which is showing on the screen right now. And just make sure, just log in with your full name. And choose the color option which is corresponding to the correct option. think let's start the quiz.
एक ट्राइपॉड ऑप्शन करना है कि एक बार मना करना है एक बार
Question number 1. What are the various issues with traditional monolith applications? Here are the options. Requires maintenance, CI/CD difficulty, steep learning curve, all of the mentioned. Guys, this is a time-based quiz. You get 30 seconds to answer one question.
$124 give the right answer. That's amazing, guys. Next question, please. Before that, just see the leadership. Okay, next question is, which AWS service is used for logging and monitoring? Option A, Amazon Route 53. Option B, Amazon CloudWatch. Option C, AWS Step Functions. And option D, Amazon SNS. Let's see the leaderboard. Karthik is on the top. Congratulations, Karthik.
Third question. EKS supports AWS Fargate to provide serverless compute for containers. Option 1 true, second option false. 23 seconds.
Okay, let's see the leaderboard. 154 gave the right answer. The right answer is true.
Anjali Kukreti
Is on the top. Congratulations. Okay, select a one that is not a part of security in EKS. Option A, identity and access management. Option B, infrastructure security. Option C, compliance validation. And option D, auto scaling.
Please maintain the silence, guys.
Okay, so right answer is auto scaling and 98 people give the right answer.
Karthik is on the top again.
Congratulations, Karthik.
Last question. Which of these is not a container runtime? Option A, Elastic Container Registry. Option B, CRIO. Option C, RKT. Option D, Docker. 20 seconds. Last question. Five seconds.
Time up, guys. Okay, so right answer is option A.
Let's see the leaderboard.
Okay, on the third position is Anjali Kukreti. First is Karthik. Who is the second one?
Position is Sonic.
Guys, I already told you, just log in with your actual name.
Competition winners, all the 3 winners come up on stage. Mr. Simon, please come on stage to give up the please.
All the winners, please come on stage for a photograph.
I request all the dignitaries to come on the stage for a photograph and prize distribution. Karthik,
Where's Karthik? Congratulations, Karthik.
whosoever got the second position, please come on the stage. Please. Who is the soaring sea lion here?
Please, guys, be honest, okay?
Must be from YouTube Live. Sorry, see live.
Okay, so we'll.
Okay, so we consider Anjali Kukreti as second position. A big congratulations to all the winners.
Ma'am, we are looking for the.
Oh, this was streaming and there was online.
We. Yes, ma'am. Nayan? May I know so Nayan is please come on stage. You're the fourth.
Congratulations, Nayan.
Congratulations to the winners.
Okay, guys, just have a seat.
I request everyone to please be seated again. Thank you, students, for your active participation. Thank you. All good things must come to an end, and on that note, we must conclude this amazing session. I would request Dr. Neelu Jyoti Ahuja ma'am, Head of Systemics Cluster, UPS Dehradun, to come up on the stage and address the students.
Good afternoon. It is really a very overwhelming feeling to see a hall full of students and it's a pleasure seeing everybody together all in one room and participating so beautifully and enjoying and winning. Okay, so it's a great feeling. I'm really happy about it. And overall, the event was very, very good. The other day, somebody was asking me, why do we think, why should we have student chapters? So, in one sentence, if I have to tell that why should we be having student chapters, I would say that student chapters are for the students, by the students, and of the students. So it is chapter, they learn how to work in teams, they learn how to celebrate together, and it's a great learning when you are being part of a particular chapter. So with that, I would like to congratulate the user group of CSA chapter. I would like to thank my faculty colleagues who've been working along with you, mentoring you, and the active participation that was seen today. And I would like to tell you that it is your time, the world is yours. You are ruling the technology wave today. You are the ones who are riding, so you have to be ahead in everything that is happening in the technology innovation. And these student chapters are a vehicle for you to do that. So really very happy about it. Please keep participating, and I would like to thank our speaker today. It was really overwhelming for me. It was a pleasure listening to her, and the way she shared her heart out for everybody sitting here. She gave certain tips for the girls and for the women of future, how they should take their career along with their family life together. So I think that was a great learning. Apart from the technology that also she tried to deliver, in a very small capsule she tried to share so many things with you. And the basic agenda of this session was to ignite you, to energize you, so that you move ahead and you learn more. So with that, I think I'd like to thank everybody, and I will hand over to the...
Ma'am, please stay on the stage for a moment. I would request Ms. Mahima to come on stage and receive a token of gratitude from the AWS user group Dehradun.
In collaboration with UPS Cloud Security Alliance.
So on behalf of the chapter, we are very happy to have you here, Mahima, and it's a real pleasure, and we want her to keep coming again and again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, I would now call upon stage Ms. Avita Katal Ma'am, Faculty Coordinator, UPS CSA, Student Chapter, to present the vote of thanks.
A very good evening to all of you. Event of this dimension cannot happen overnight. It requires meticulous planning and execution and an eye for details. I cannot thank everyone enough for the involvement they have shown and the willingness they have expressed to take on the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. Your efforts meant a lot to us. I would like to thank our guest speaker, Ms. Mahima Saran, to accept our request on such a short notice. I would also like to give special thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor and Dean School of Computer Sciences, Dr. Sunil Rai, Ms. Shweta Dhyani, Deputy Director, School of Computer Science, Dr. Neelu Jyoti Ahuja, Systemics Cluster Head, School of Computer Science, for their guidance and never-ending support. I would also like to mention special thanks for Mr. Praveen Dagli, Faculty Ambassador, AWS User Group Dehradun, for being such a wonderful co-organizer. Thanks to all program leaders, especially Dr. Rajiv Tiwari ji, who is here with us. I would also like to thank UPS administrative staff for all this arrangement. They have put an untiring effort in it, and thank you once again. But most importantly, I would like to thank AWS User Group Dehradun Core Committee members and UPS CSA Student Chapter Core Committee members for their team spirit and enthusiasm to conduct such events that provide an opportunity to learn from the best. Let's conclude this memorable and knowledgeable event. On behalf of Systemics UPS and UPS Student Chapter, CSA, we sincerely promise you that in future, we will keep on organizing such events with some more innovative ideas to nourish our minds and fill us all with more knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an amazing words.
Sorry about coming on stage unplanned, but I think Avita Katal has thanked everybody, but she's not thanked herself. So she's been an excellent resource. And so I would like to add those thanks to her. Thank you so much, Avita.
On behalf of AWS User Group Dehradun, I would like to thank audience who gathered here and make time from their busy schedule. I also want to thank all the faculty members and teachers who encourages our spirit. We extend our heartfelt gratitude towards Ms. Rohini Gaunkar, Senior Developer Advocate India, AISPL AWS, Mr. Suman Devnath, Principal Amazon EFS at AWS, Ms. Carissa Wood, Senior Developer Community Manager AWS, and Ms. Ridhima Kapoor, Developer Marketing Manager AWS, for their support and faith.
We would also like to thank the administration at UPES Dehradun who made this event possible, and all the faculty coordinators for their untiring efforts, faculty members, staff and students at UPES Dehradun. It is your presence that we have come to witness the success of this event. So a great round of applause for all of you here. Please maintain the COVID protocols, and I would request the students to leave the hall. Ms. Saran, faculty coordinators, faculty members, core team at AWS Dehradun, heads at UPS CSA student chapter, please stay back for a group photograph.
I request the guest and core team at AWS User Group Dehradun to proceed with the high tea after the photograph.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you guys.